Straight to Chappaqua, New York now. House Dems coming out speaking to reporters while taking a break from deposing former President Bill Clinton and his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Let's listen in.
For the precedent that President Trump needs to now come and answer these questions, that Howard Lutnick needs to answer these questions, that other people part of the Epstein class who've been in these files need to come before this committee and ask these questions. And that's the only way we're going to have accountability and healing. Now I'll turn it over to our ranking member Garcia.
I'm just going to introduce folks. I'll make some comments at the end. I'm going to introduce other members. First we have is Congresswoman Emily Randall.
Thank you. As you heard, President Clinton in his opening statement said that America was built on the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. And the Democratic members of the Oversight Committee feel the same. No one is above the law, and anyone with knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes should absolutely come before the committee to give testimony about what they saw or did. Who was there? Who was involved? Survivors like Charlene Richard, who is my State of the Union guest, deserve the accountability and the truth. The American people deserve accountability and truth. That means a complete release of the files and cooperation, not obstruction, from Pam Bondi. And it means testimony on the record from anyone with information, whether that's Howard Lutnick, Bill Gates, Larry Summers, and yes, even and especially Donald Trump.
Congressman Stansbury.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, and I am deeply proud to represent New Mexico's 1st Congressional District, where our state has taken action where the federal government has failed. We have reopened an investigation through our state attorney general into the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and his associates in New Mexico, as well as passed the first state-level truth commission in this case ever passed in the history of the United States. We will be working very closely to make sure that the state is able to make a full accounting of the crimes in New Mexico. With regards to today's deposition, I want to be clear at the outset that President Clinton, as of today, has not been accused of a crime. There are not public files available that accuse him of a crime, whereas there are publicly available documents that do allege a crime of President Trump. But it is very well established that President Clinton had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and we are treating this investigation extraordinarily seriously. And when you see the recorded deposition, you will see that we asked all of the hard questions, centering the survivors, making sure that we get to the bottom of where there are discrepancies in the record, and understanding how not only the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed could go on, but why there was a culture that surrounded him wherein the rich and powerful turned a blind eye. And with that, I turn it back to our ranking member.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Congressman Maxwell Frost. First off, I just thank you to President Clinton for coming here today to speak with us. Answering these questions has been helpful for us as we will continue this investigation. Donald Trump, as we know, needs to come before this committee. He's been caught in multiple lies as it relates to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I can tell you I've seen unredacted files myself that directly refute his assertion that he kicked out Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and the reasoning why he did that. Also, walking out of this, I can tell you we all now have a lot of new questions that we have to raise as it relates to the reasoning on why Donald Trump had a falling out with Jeffrey Epstein in the first place. Another thing is that I saw about an hour ago, Donald Trump in a press conference said that Howard Lutnick is, quote, a very innocent guy. Donald Trump has asserted many times that he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes. If he doesn't know anything about Epstein's crimes, how can he know for sure that Howard Lutnick is, quote, a very innocent guy? We have questions for him. And I think what today is showing and what yesterday is showing is, of course, no one's above the law. That includes the President of the United States. And my hope is that our Republican colleagues, as we walk out of here today and go back to D.C., will join us in making sure that we can hear from Howard Lutnick, from Pam Bondi, and from President Trump.
Good afternoon, Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari, representing Arizona's 3rd District. I think today was a historic day for transparency in the United States of America. The fact that we have the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, under oath, speaking to the Oversight Committee and answering questions in a transparent manner is critical. I look forward to the Republican majority listening to our demands of having the transcripts and the videos unedited of both depositions, today's and yesterday's, released immediately, because the American public deserves to hear and see these answers for themselves. And ultimately, this demonstrates that nobody is above the law. And my top concern at this moment is the ongoing White House cover-up. It is deeply concerning that we are seeing a very coordinated machine from the President of the United States continuously repeating that he has been exonerated. He just repeated that today, to members of the Republican Party on the Oversight Committee repeating that lie as well. There are very credible allegations that have been looked into and investigated by the FBI that the Department of Justice is illegally withholding. Please do not stop asking about this. Why is the DOJ continuing to defy the Epstein Files Transparency Act by refusing to release the full Epstein files, by illegally withholding information, by deleting photos and videos of people like Howard Lutnick? This is unacceptable. Donald Trump must be deposed immediately in front of this committee, as do many senior level officials from this administration.
I'm Congressman Suhas Subramaniam from Virginia. If there was any doubt before today that oversight Democrats are treating this investigation in a nonpartisan way, it'll be put to rest when the transcripts come out. We've been asking the former president the hard questions. To his credit, he has answered every single question. He's not taken the Fifth Amendment. He's been actually quite comfortable, and he's actually given very long, deliberate answers to all these questions. And so we appreciate the former president being here today, and we would like to see the current president come before us as well and give the same kind of transparency that President Clinton has given us today. And we're going to continue to demand the release of the files and continue to demand transparency of this administration.
Two quick points. Wesley Bell, Congressman, Missouri's 1st District. First and foremost, President Clinton came here and answered tough questions. I think the victims and survivors, the American public, deserve deserve a serious investigation, because thus far what we're seeing from Republicans is a very non-serious, as one of my colleagues referred to it, as a clown show.
House Democrats coming out and briefing reporters right now as former President Bill Clinton continues with his deposition there by House Oversight Committee members over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to continue, of course, to follow every press conference that is held when they get a break from the deposition. But for more, let's bring in our Perry Russum. What do we know so far, Perry?
Yeah, so we know that they just wrapped up their second hour of questioning for former President Bill Clinton. This is all happening behind closed doors. So what we're seeing now is this trickle of information coming out. We just had the Democrats speaking right there. And just before that, we heard from Congressman James Comer, who's the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. We did not have a chance to get that on air, him talking, but I was able to listen to that while that news conference was going on. Comer wanted to highlight a question that was asked by Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia to former President Bill Clinton. And the question was along the line of, should President Trump be called in to answer questions? And according to James Comer, he says Clinton answered that by saying, that's for you to decide, going on to say, Trump never said anything to me that made me think he was involved. So then Comer went back inside. The Democrats came outside. They said they asked the former president some tough questions. They say Bill Clinton answered every question they asked. They wanted to highlight the fact that they had a former president of the United States sitting in this deposition, and they were trying to make the argument that this then clears the road for President Trump to come in and be asked some questions. They really want to hear from President Trump on this, but it's not really clear if that is going to be happening at all. Nobody is above the law is a phrase we kept hearing Democrats say there. They also say they have new questions about why President Trump had a falling out with Jeffrey Epstein. Democrats said they also want to talk to Howard Lutnick, Pam Bondi, and President Trump. We did hear from President Trump earlier today on the White House South Lawn as he was getting on to Marine One on his way to Air Force One, as he's on his way to Corpus Christi, Texas today. He was asked about what he thinks to see former President Bill Clinton being deposed. And President Trump says he was not a fan of it, does not like the idea of Bill Clinton being deposed, Kira.
All right. We'll continue to track it. Perry Russom, thank you so much.